But this is a competitive game where players are going to be acting as the council of law. It's going to be up to the players to go through different crimes, with each of the crimes having 3 different suspects, and then the players are going to be collectively deciding whether or not each suspect is innocent or guilty. Of course, this may not always reflect reality, and it's for this reason that this game is also a bit of a hidden identity game, because each player is going to be dealt an identity at the start of the game. You're going to be keeping the secret throughout the entirety of the game, but it pretty much determines what you want those final outcomes to be at the end of each round, where the philanthropist might want everyone to be acquitted whether or not they're guilty, and then the commissar will want everyone to be convicted, and then the other players may want to result in convicting the appropriate suspects or doing the complete opposite. The main board gets set up every single round with a random crime being put at the top, and then 3 suspects who are going to be tried for that crime. Whether or not those suspects actually committed the crime or not is going to be randomly determined by shuffling up a card and putting it face down underneath each of those suspects, and of course that will be revealed at the end of the round. But what's really interesting about this game is that it is a trick-taking game. The different cards that players have in their hand are going to have different suits that all represent different types of evidence, but the trump suit is going to be determined by whichever crime card is currently in play, so that will be changing from round to round. And the way that players get the cards into their hand for each round is that after all of this is set up, from what I've said so far, players will then be either dealt a hand of cards, or you could choose to draft a hand of cards depending on how you want to play the game. Trick-taking in this game works similarly to the traditional method of trick-taking, but with a few added changes. Players will have tokens that they'll be able to spend to skip a turn, allowing them to see another round of cards played before they decide what they want to play, or they could also instead play a token to try and look under one of the suspects to see which ones are actually innocent or guilty. After all the players have passed, the winner is going to be determined by whoever played the highest card of the lead suit, or by playing the highest trump card if they didn't have that suit. And then the winner is going to be able to take one of the cards that they just won and then slide it either to the left-hand side or the right-hand side of one of the suspects. This is going to determine how that suspect is tried, because at the end of the round, you're going to be adding up all the values on the left-hand side and all the values on the right-hand side, and then comparing the two, and whichever side is higher is going to be determining whether or not that suspect is found innocent or guilty. There is also some icon matching you can do as well to add additional values onto that total, but that's essentially how the game works. Within a round, players are going to be playing several tricks until one of the players completely runs out of cards, and then that's going to be triggering the end of the round. And then all the suspects are going to be resolved, and the card underneath them is going to be revealed, so you can see which ones were actually guilty or innocent. And then the outcome of that is going to determine whether or not you score victory points for that suspect, depending on your identity card that you got at the start of the game. But there is another layer to this game that makes it even more fun, because not only can you put cards to the left or right of each suspect when you're playing those tricks, but there's also a card that you can put either above or below the suspect, which is going to be adding certain icons to that card, which can increase the victory points you get if you do score for that particular suspect. The icons that you're going to get are also going to be determined by your identity card, so you'll want to check your identity card to see which icons score best for you. The game's played over several rounds, and the player with the most victory points at the end of the game wins the game, and if this one sounds interesting to you, you can check it out. I'll have it linked in the description below.